Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. Are we live yet? Are we live? Dun, dun, dun. All right, we are live. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, what's up, peeps? This is Conk. This is my first broadcast. I have actual shit. I got a real mic. I got a real camera. I have a little ring light thing that Ryan Stone told me was good. What's up, Patrick? So today we're going to talk about milk and meat, as the title says, as the thumbnail says. Thumbnail? Words is hard. But we're going to talk about that. But first, since it is my first video, I think I should explain who I am. My name is Conk. I'm actually a Corey, Corey. And to let you guys in on a little secret, if your name is Corey, it's extremely different than Cory, and I hate all of you. There is a secret fight club between the EYs and the Ys. You all better be voting EY. Only real red pill chads are Corey, Corey. So, and like Corey Wayne is like our special needs friend that we just like let hang out in the corner because he's got the right name, but he just doesn't have it. So, we let him in the club, but he's more of the water boy situation. Me with this channel, what I want to do with this channel is I was a pastor for approximately, give or take, I was a pastor off and on from 2008 to 2014. I've worked in 4 or 5 different denominations in different churches under different roles. I've been a children's pastor, youth pastor, backup pastor, traveling pastor, missionary to Panama. I've done a lot of church shit. And I'm also very red pill aware. And now that Rollo is making his 4th book called Religion and Red Pill, I think now is a better time than ever for me to come out, show you guys some stuff and some interesting things I've learned when you separate the church from God, from the Bible. Because that's the main problem in today's world. When you go through America, if anybody says one of those 3 words, church, Christian, Bible, God, 4 words, screw it. You all kind of correlate them into one big pile. And that, my friend, is dangerous. Very dangerous. Because they are not the same thing. They are not the same thing at all. Do we got that? Good. By the way, if you guys have comments in, you guys are in the live stream, just throw random questions in. I'm going to Q&A all of this shit too. So if you have random questions for me, throw them in there and I'll get into them in between talking points or in breaks. But yeah, also, I'm not a nicotine addict, but I'm a nicotine enthusiast. So if you see me inhaling on a USB, just let it happen. All right, so topic at hand. What do I mean by milk and meat? What I mean by milk and meat is 2 different concepts for how we consume content, just like we consume food. And they're both truths, but they're different types of truths intended for different types of people. So I want to preface that with not all truths are for everyone, which might be a controversial sentence, but hear me out. The interpretation of truth is blended with past experiences. That's my first point. Whenever you learn something, you're learning it through the lens of everything you've learned before it, right? So when I see a picture of a purple giraffe, I'm learning that through my idea of purple and my idea of giraffe, right? I've had to have those 2 things in my mind when I look at that to do that. It's association of our past experiences. That's how we all learn. Our whole life is really just a giant trial and error shit show. Okay? So, because whatever interpretation of truth we have is blended by past experiences, that means the order that you learn something is important. For example, if I go into college, let's say I'm a fresh noob trying to get into college, and I sign up for an Algebra 2 class, but I never took Algebra 1. How much is that Algebra 2 class going to make sense? It's going to make jack shit sense, right? You lost all of the foundation of Algebra 1 because you tried to skip ahead, right? There's a reason it's called Algebra 2 and not Algebra 1 or Algebra do whatever you want. It's a free country, right? If you're really smart and gifted in the exception, sometimes you can pull your head out of your ass and get through it without Algebra 1. But theoretically, almost all classes with a 2 at the end mean you're supposed to have the 1 at the end first. Does that make sense? All right. So saying that, my next point is when you learn is just as important as what you learn. All right. When you learn is just as important as what you learn. There are methods to it, right? There's levels to it. You and I know. Bitch, be humble. Okay. If you try to learn Algebra 2 without Algebra 1, you're gonna have a clusterfuck of concepts and thoughts and ideas that you didn't have unless you went through Algebra 1 first. You can still get out there, you can still try it, but at the end of the day, it's going to be much harder. And there's a lot of times you'll probably choke and you'll be overwhelmed to not only learn the new Algebra 2 stuff, but trying to back order what the hell the Algebra 1 stuff was as well. Right? So when you learn Algebra 2, it's just as important as what you learn in Algebra 2. All right? And this leads into a very, very important topic that pisses me off to no end because I see a lot of red pill commenters, on top of sometimes even red pill speakers, get this part fucked up. Okay? This is the part that gets fucked up on time all the time. What is the difference between a descriptive truth and a prescriptive truth? Any takers? What's descriptive versus prescriptive? So the root of both of those words is script. A script, like a piece of paper you are reading. Okay? So a script is a set of lines that you go through. You're reading it out, you're going by script, right? If you're looking at a play or you're going through a movie or anything like that, you're reading a script. So that is the root of prescriptive versus descriptive. Both of those have the root of script. But one is D, one is pre, all right? So prescriptive truth is a prescript, which means somebody wrote something for you to read, right? A prescriptive truth is based on that circumstance of what they wrote for you to do, right? Descriptive truth, D is without, right? The root of D is without that. It's without script. So descriptive truth is there is no script. There is no agenda. It's not something written just for you. It's just something, right? So this is how I think I explain it best. We're going to talk about some motherfucking chess, all right? So if you get a book that tells you all the rules of chess, like if I give you the sentence that says a queen moves in this direction, and this direction, right? Up, down, left, right, diagonals. All right. Is that prescriptive or descriptive? That is actually descriptive because that is just a rule of chess. There's no agenda to it. That's just the way the piece works. It's just the rules of the game, right? It's not saying, only the white or the black player gets to use the queen this way. There's just something else there, right? It's a without frame. It's an equal thing. This is just how it works. This is the rules of law, right? Or like the law of gravity or the theory of gravity, however you feel about scientific science, the philosophy of science words. So gravity is a descriptive truth in that it's not trying to tell you to do something, right? The descriptive truth, gravity just is. It's not on anybody's team. It's not a good or bad thing. It's not right and wrong. It's just a thing, right? It's a very impersonal thing that just happens. Or another descriptive truth. 2 plus 2 is 4, right? 2 plus 2 plus 4. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is just a sentence. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't hurt anyone. It's a descriptive truth. It is without script. It's without an agenda, right? It's not trying to make you song and dance. Now, prescriptive is the opposite. When we go back to the chess analogy, prescriptive truth is, so descriptive was, this is how the pieces move, this is how you win. It's just clear objective statements. Prescriptive truth, talking about chess, would be, it's really good to castle your king by turn 5, right? Do you see the difference between the two? If I'm saying you should castle your king by turn 5, that's not a descriptive truth. That's me giving you a script. It's prescripted. I thought of something to tell you and I'm giving it to you for something for you to do. It's a good or bad thing. It has an outcome. It has a reason behind it. Okay? That's what prescriptive truth is. So descriptive is objective. Prescriptive is subjective or relative, whatever your term fits your fancy. So that's what we're going with. All right. Now that I said those things, I think that's enough. That's freaking 12 minutes of preface to my actual fucking conversation tonight. All right. Which is milk and meat. So we just looked up dichotomies of prescriptive and descriptive. This is a different dichotomy. And dichotomy is a fancy word for two things that are opposing. Something cannot be a descriptive and prescriptive truth, just like something can't be milk and meat. I mean, you can make like a hamburger smoothie, but don't make a hamburger smoothie. That's my prescription to you. All right, so you might be able to guess where this is going, but what is milk? So milk, in its essence, is for babies. Now, I'm not saying if you drink milk right now or you're eating a bowl of cereal with a bunch of milk in it, you're a baby. I mean, kind of, but the intent of milk is for babies. We have baby cow milk. We have baby human milk out of nips. Most things that make milk have nips to give to babies. That was the point of it, right? So what are the attributes of milk? It's liquid. It's fluid. You can chug it pretty damn fast. And you chug it multiple times a day when you're a baby, right? You don't feed a baby once and then put it away for 23 hours. You feed the baby milk often and a lot. That's the point of milk. It's for babies to survive and have constant nourishment. They're chugging all the time. Okay? And it's liquid. It just goes down the gullet. You don't even need fucking teeth, right? You just hammer it down the gullet like a shot as many times as you can until you can grow up. So that's what milk is. So how does that relate to religion and the red pill or really any concept? Milk here is the noobs and those that are zeroed out that are coming into the red pill, the manosphere, if you want to call it the gay nightclub name. So any content intended for noobs is a milk substance, is a milk topic. Okay? Any content derived for noobs and zeroed out guys and new guys learning everything is milk content. That's what milk is. It is for the red pill babies or those that are zeroed out. Okay? It's the new guys. They haven't fully clicked it. They might have read some books. They might have watched some YouTube videos, but they're still just trying to get their fucking life together, right? Milk is for survival and to keep you going so that you can grow, right? It's to not die. You're in the kiddie pool, okay? So the problem is that some guys will read one book, one red pill baby will read one or two books and go, I got this, and they'll just leave. And they're like, okay, I got it. And then they crash and burn. The reason they crash and burn is because a baby can't walk on its own 2 feet after drinking milk once or twice. Right? So I'm not arguing don't go out and do anything until you read every book. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that overconfidence from like an initial success of reading the Rational Mail or reading an Aaron Clarey book or reading some kind of red pill content or getting involved in a Rule Zero episode, right? Just because you did that once or twice doesn't mean your life's fixed. Okay. You're not walking on your own 2 feet yet. You still don't even have teeth. You better get on that red pill nipple and suck, man. Don't get overconfident. Okay. And milk itself, when you see a lot of the content on red pill, especially the ones that pull the bigger numbers, like Rule Zero or the former version of Rule Zero that we probably shouldn't talk about. How many, especially before the train wreck, that was like its specialty for a long time. It was a lot of new guys. It had a lot of numbers for a lot of new guys. Okay. Hey, Bull Rush, what's going on, man? It is me, brother. We're talking about milk and meat. So, when you look at all of that content, especially the new content, when you have a bunch of new guys calling in or giving out super chats in the Q&As, they're asking pretty newbie stuff. And so those responses, right? A lot of those responses are prescriptive options. Okay. Not all of them, but most of the time, when you look at those red pill call-in shows, they're talking milk. Okay. It's usually a lot of new guys that fully don't understand what's going on, or they're asking, they're usually going like, well, my circumstance is really different and really specific, and I really needed advice. And then fast forward to the end conversation, you always give them, they get the same action steps as everyone else because they're not as unique as they think they are. Okay. That's just the way it is. So most of these things, when we're giving out those advice, we might ask for more clarification on before the train wreck or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's still pretty foundational, solid action steps that almost everyone gets because we're not as unique as we think we are. Everybody thinks it's a special little baby, but at the end of the day, most freaking babies look the same. I don't know if that's racist. I mean, I don't know if you'd call that racist. Is it ageist? If I think all babies look the same? I don't know. I don't care about babies. Anyway, to me, they're not that special. Every baby's a special snowflake, but, we can't have 8 billion special babies all at once. Then that defeats the purpose of special. So, saying that, when they give out advice on those shows, it's usually prescriptive advice. You're giving a script to that guy. He's giving you advice, and you're giving him very specific steps or ideas for him to chew on that would relate to him, which is pretty much all of it, because honestly, all of it applies, especially for those guys and the crazy questions they ask. Okay. And by crazy, I mean is they think it's crazy, but it's pretty much the same question. So milk is a prescriptive action step content for a baby that they need to chug multiple times a day, not just once or twice and, oh, I'm good. And they usually get high, haughty, and confident. And you'll see them a lot on the Rule Zero page on Facebook. And you'll see a lot of guys that now think they're Chads because they read like 10 pages of the Rational Mail. Okay. It's not how it works. You got to keep doing it. Milk keeps going. Okay. So that's milk. The problem is we see a lot of the noobs all the time when they have those big freaking 600, 900 a natalist. Sounds like fatalist, which is very different. Well, I mean, if you hate babies, it's like a fatalist, right? You don't like the human species. I don't know how it works, man. I just work here. But the problem with milk is you eventually get sick of it. Once you chug enough milk and you develop enough of a red pill lens, you develop enough physically, if we're talking about literal babies here, right? If we're talking about literal babies here, you eventually grow and milk just doesn't cut it. Sure, we can drink some milk once in a while. It might be refreshing and we might need it for that day, but you can't really survive on just milk when you're fucking 21, okay? I mean, if you're a broke college student, you can get it for free when it expires at the dollar store. Cool. But I mean, we want other things. We want solid food eventually, right? Once you're on your 2 feet, milk loses its cool. And that's where we get to meat. So, meat or solid food, depending on which translation you look at, we'll get into that in a second. Meat is for a mature person who is now walking on their own 2 legs, has teeth to chew, and is sick of milk. Okay. Eventually, milk loses its necessity when you mature. So, the attributes of milk we talked about before, it was liquid, it was cold. Oh, my dog freaks me out. Man, he's a big spaz. He might have a big barking fit soon. He's on guard mode. Yep, you hear that? Shakes my whole fucking apartment. It's crazy. You done, dog? Hey, dummy. Are you done? He doesn't look done. Freaking terrifying dog, man. He gives me the shakies. He's terrifying. Maybe he'll come on camera later when he's less lazy. Oh, and he smells terrible. Man, he let out something. So, anyway, back to meat. So, milk was the attributes of milk. It was liquid. It was meant to be chugged multiple times a day. Meat, you only need every once in a while, and you can't just chug it. Meat is meant to be chewed over time. Okay? Meat is meant to be chewed over time after you've already matured, and milk just loses its goodness. It's no longer a necessity. You're doing fine without milk. Okay? So the problem with milk and meat, and this kind of goes back to our Algebra 2 and our Algebra 1 talk, is if you give somebody Algebra 2 before they learned Algebra 1, they're going to choke on the content. Likewise, if you try to feed a baby a full-on ribeye, it's going to choke. Right? If you give a baby a steak, it's going to freaking choke. Steak is meant to be chewed over time. Okay? And you don't need to eat it 6 times a day. I mean, it sounds freaking awesome. I wish I could. But, steak's an every once in a while thing. Milk was an all the time thing. All right? So the problem is when you give a baby steak, it'll choke. So how does that apply to our analogy here? How I look at it is obviously milk we talked about was mostly prescriptive and action steps for new guys. And meat is more bigger, deeper concepts that you have to chew for a while to think about and expand it and explore it more. Okay? It's about pondering, exploring, expanding, tearing down to find fundamentals. Right? You're trying to break it down with your teeth over time to get that more dense nutrients for adults. It takes some work. Okay. Milk is everywhere. Meat takes some work and it's harder to find. Okay. The problem is if you have a baby that skips straight to the steak face, it's going to choke on it. It doesn't have the teeth to chew the material. And that goes back to what we were talking about before, is when you learn is just as important as what you learn. So how I see this is the black pill and possibly the new MGTOW community is how I'd put it. Black pill and new MGTOWs. Old MGTOWs is a little different thing. And I can go on that rant for a while, but that rant's happened a lot already. So I don't see the need for it right now. But the new MGTOW crowd and the black pill crowd, to me, are people that chewed the red pill too far, too fast without going through the basics. They jump straight to the nihilism. They jump straight to the black pill. Everything's bad. Women only want this, this, and this. It's a complete misunderstanding of the content, and they're choking on it because they didn't go through it first. They didn't go through the proper means. Okay? They didn't get their milk before they got their meat. They weren't ready for it. So all of these people that are unplugging without all of these baby action steps when they become aware, that's usually when you see them go black pill or new MGTOW. Okay. Instead of MGTOW, should it be like MGTOWN with an N at the end? MGTOW new? MGTOWA? Been going their own way again? I don't know how it works. I don't know. We'll think of something creative for that. But I think we should separate the phases of MGTOW because they are very different. But the new MGTOWs and the black pills, to me, I'm seeing that as people who are choking on the red pill. because they tried to go too fast. They tried to get steak before they got the milk. Okay. They didn't learn all of the basic action steps from like Ryan or Troy or Rich or Rolo or any of them, talking about how to do inner game and outer game and how to get your SMV in order and all those things and even go try that. They just took all the big concepts, they tried to chew them and swallow them, and they choked on them, right? That's what I see what happened, in my opinion. Is they weren't willing to slow down, admit you're a baby and all this, and consume content, consume for a while. The liquid stuff made for them. They went straight to meat and they choked on it, and now they're suffocating, essentially. They're suffocating on their own information because they weren't able to handle it. Does that make sense? But that doesn't mean that all meat is bad, right? So those guys fucked up with meat. I would say Rational Male the book is a very objective book. And I think it would go more in the meat category. But the Iron Rules of Tomasi is more of the milk category, is how I always put it. Because it is actually prescriptive action steps of like, just go by these guidelines, right? The Iron Rules of Tomasi are just like it's good to castle your king by turn 5. It's not these are the rules of the game. That's what the rest of the Rational Male was the rules of the game. The rules of Tomasi the Iron Rules of Tomasi was more of a prescription. Okay. So milk is descriptive truth that's a lot harder to chew, but once you do, it has way more substance than milk could ever give you, right? Milk has some pros and cons, but I'm in the camp that ribeye is pretty much just pros, right? The only cons is the price and the time it takes to eat it and cook it properly. And there is a right way to cook steak. Oh, you freaking well done idiots. Eat it rare. So that's how that goes. And this is a very interesting topic to me. And this is what I like doing. I like going to the meat. I like going all that stuff. Sure, I help out on Rolo's channel. Sure, I help out on Rich's channel for Before the Train Wreck. But more often than not, it's mostly milk stuff and a lot of new guys sending super chats and call-ins. You know, I've heard multiple guys say they're kind of getting sick of it. It's kind of getting boring now. It's the same thing over and over again, right? So that's why we need some meat. I think we need some more meat in the red pillow sphere, or the Rational Manosphere, the manosphere. I don't care what you want to call it. But I think I think it's been around enough, and I think it's been popular enough that we need to start bringing in some meat topics. And that's what I freaking love. I want to get in some fucking meat topics. I want to get some real substance out there. And I've been thinking about this for a couple months off and on. And Aaron Clary, he's a great Manosphere guy, if you guys have heard of him. I saw he recently announced he wants to do something called Red Pill Frontiers. And Red Pill Frontiers is exactly what I'm talking about here. He wants to make a meat show. It's what do you do now? You took in the red pill. What do you do now, right? You fully consumed it. You got through it. You got through your milk. What's next, right? That's what he calls it, Red Pill Frontiers. And I think that's an awesome idea. And I want to say I thought of it first, but I mean, I can't prove that. This is my first video. So he's got the timestamps that I don't. He's got those receipts. So I'm definitely going to support Aaron Clary in his Red Pill Frontiers. I'll definitely be tuning into that. But yeah, I think we need to talk about some bigger things for a smaller audience. Unfortunately, just because of the nature of death, there's always more babies than humans, right? Is that how that works? I don't know. I feel like I just made that up and I'm already going to regret it. But it sounded fun to say at the time. But in general, you're going to see a lot more babies that'll eventually fall off and die than there was humans. I guess how I'd put it is the amount of humans now, there was more babies before them, but not all of them make them to full maturity. Like every person born a baby isn't guaranteed to die at 100, obviously. As you go down, that generation is going to dwindle. Likewise, you're going to see a lot more milk people than you're going to see meat people. So when you see those live streams and you see those talks online, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people viewing live, and then it turns into tens or 20s of thousands of views afterwards, there's probably a lot of milk guys. The milk to meat ratio is definitely in the milk's favor for those. So if you make meat topics, you're just going to have to accept you're going to have a smaller audience, okay? You're going to have a smaller audience if you want to talk meat. So I just want to put that out there. And for my final topic, some of you guys know, some of you guys don't, and it's my first video, so I should probably fucking say it anyway. I talked about it a little bit at the front that I was used to be a pastor, but most of the meat, so I'm going to make milk and meat videos on this channel. Like, that's just the way it is, right? Sometimes I'll do the same topic twice, the milk spin and then the meat spin, where we're going even more devolved and we're going even more objective, and kind of getting that big brain overarching bird's eye view of it, instead of the action steps just to keep your head above water. So most of milk is don't let the baby die. And meat is more where you can sit and chew to your taste and to your fancy. Okay. So I'm going to do milk topics and I'm going to do meat topics, but I think a lot of it's going to be mostly red pill focused, but I'm also going to do a lot of uplugging for the church as well. So like I said before, the Bible is not the church, is not God, is not Christian, right? Those are all four different things in different terms. One of the things I want to focus on is how all of those have split from each other recently. And even though they all look like they're in the same wheelhouse, they all mean very different things. And a lot of them actually are against each other. Most notably, the modern church is bad. It's just bad. I don't even want to put any more emotional effort into thinking of a better adjective. It's just bad, man. It's a lot of its origins are pagan right now. A lot of their beliefs and their dogmas are from skewed church religion, from Gnosticism, from bad Catholic preaching, from or teachings, trying to control their populace, all of those things. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to do is not just red pill focused, but also I'm going to do some religion focus in that I'm going to break down some stuff. I'm going to show you all how to use a concordance. And a concordance is a red pill Christian's best friend. If you consider yourself Christian and you consider yourself red pill, you better fucking own a concordance, okay? And we're going to go over that, all right? That's some milk for you right there. Get a concordance or you're going to be nothing but the slave to the church's tradition, right? It's all about looking to it for yourself. We're going to go through that. We're going to go through a bunch of words and a bunch of phrases and a bunch of things like the word premarital sex. We're going to go into, that actually doesn't mean anything. That's a made-up word by the modern church. It's nowhere in the Bible. It's completely made up by Puritans. We'll go into that. We'll go into the word marriage has nothing to do with a husband and a wife. That's also made up by the Catholic Church in the 1200s. There's multiple instances in the Bible where people are married, but they're not husband and wife. And then there's also people that are husband and wife and they're not married. Those are all different words. There's two different types of divorce. One is actually celebrated. One is condoned. So all of those people trying to straitjacket you into saying all divorce is bad. Actually, our version of divorce is pretty awesome and everybody's happy about it. There's a different form of divorce, so don't let people enslave you to that. The church was never involved in any... Okay. I don't want to put any more spoilers in there because I got a lot of shit. It's going to be awesome. So we're going to go into that. We're going into the roots of a lot of the words. We're going to use a concordance. We're going to get to the root of what the Bible actually says, that the church is completely skewed over time. And pretty much everything you believe, if you go to church on a Sunday, is a lie from church tradition. It's all made up dogmas to control you. So we'll go through that. Yeah, does that sound fun? Does that sound controversial enough? But I bring that all up because I think I am not going to say anything on this channel that does not have biblical support. So you might think that my whole idea of milk and meat is just made up analogy, but it is in 1 Corinthians 3. Fun fact, the church of Corinth, so this was a letter written by Apostle Paul. This was a church to Corinth, which was the Vegas of the biblical era. Corinth was basically Vegas. Hookers left and right, gambling, screaming, shouting, the real sin city. Okay. And Paul specifically calls them in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. He says, I'm giving you all of these rules and all these prescriptions because you're babies and you can't handle your meat. That's what he says. He says, babies need milk. I'm going to give you a bunch of prescriptive milks because you can't handle the meat. You're too new. You're too young. You're not going to get it if I tell you the deep stuff. That's what Paul tells them. So even Paul is in agreement that when you learn something is just as important as what you learn. Awesome, awesome. Well, if you got any questions, throw them out to me. I'm going to let's see, give me a second. I don't think we got any questions here. I'm going to throw up my email and my Twitter. You guys can get me on either of these if you want. Shoot me some questions if you want. It's all good in the hood. And yeah, you guys can send me emails. You guys can send me DMs there. I think they're open. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But you shoot me questions pretty soon. What we got coming up is over the next week or two, I'm just going to fucking dive head first. We're going to go into biblical sex because that is the biggest tension. You can ask anybody. I'm sure Rolo hears this all the time. Like, what about premarital sex? You see that nonstop from red pill religious people where they can't get that through their head. So my first lesson, I don't know if I'm going to make it 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts, at least 3 parts. I'm going to go into what actually is biblical sex versus what the church is teaching you right now. And I tell you, it's fucking hella different, okay? Red pill and religion are pretty much, they're like 85% on the same page. Plates, everything, okay? So we're going to go through that next, and then I'm going to end it with an interview with Abu American. He's already agreed to be on. We're going to be talking about the Muslim family versus the biblical family. We're going to compare and contrast those because through our series, you're going to see what's a biblical sex and what does a biblical family look like? Because it's definitely not one man, one woman, and 2.5 kids in a white picket fence. That's made up. That was just made up to keep you in society. Okay. So we're going to go through all that. Hit me up some email, hit me on Twitter, ask me some questions, and we can make some videos on that after my biblical sex series. And if we're all done, you guys have a good one.